Well, hello. We have a special guest today, and it's not my husband, Eric, who we have a special co-host. This is my friend Lindsay. Say hi to the big ass audience that my podcast has.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So Lindsay is here because Eric is out in the front of the building talking to a firefighter who we adore. He's definitely of the same mindset of YFFR, and it's awesome. But because they both love the brain so much and like firefighter culture, they are just talking forever. And that is
They will not stop talking.
They will not stop talking about
That's why I'm here.
breathing. It's like I only know one other person who talks that much about breathing, and it's me.
Yeah. They're really rivaling you right now.
They are. I know.
Yeah.
They're trying to do a hostile takeover.
Yeah.
Lindsay just took YFFR class.
I did. I loved it.
How'd you
It was
feel?
very hard. You were really on me today.
Mhm.
And at first my ego was like, no thanks. And then after that, after I dissolved that, I was like, no, this is exactly what I need. And it was so good. You were really on me.
So I'm starting to, and what's so funny is that being on you is like 0.5% of when I teach in the academy,
I know. I'm a little nervous.
Lindsay is training to apply to be a firefighter and join the academy. And so I think what's so cool, Lindsay, is that you are starting from a place that I don't think anyone else starts from, which is like we always bring in the yoga later and we have to like correct and reframe and turn people the right direction and this or that. You're starting with the mindset. You're starting with the breath control.
Yes.
You're starting with the awareness and the mindfulness and the precision. So, I found when I went through the academy, some things actually came very, very easy because I had all those things beforehand.
Yes.
I had breath coordinated with movement, and I was just able to move through things. So I think it's going to be really cool that you're going to have that tool and superpower.
Yes, I'm really excited to see how I'm able to apply the things I'm learning with you in actual like functional training.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
And I was going to say, oh yes, when you said my ego said no thanks and I dissolved that.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same pattern everyone goes through, especially the recruits, because the ego pops up first and it wants to do things the way it's done things.
Yes.
And that's just very natural. But what was really cool is yoga is dissolving of the ego and being able to get the consciousness sort of above it. So I describe it like if ego cells, which we all have, by the way, if your ego is completely gone, you pass away, So it's like, well, oh my God, you guys, Lindsay's 22. So I don't know if you're going to know this reference.
Okay, I'll try my best.
TV channels back in the day.
Okay.
Bunny ears. You know the bunny ears where you would move the things around?
No.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
And Snow on channels that weren't working.
Okay,
do you know of Snow?
I do know Snow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Snow would also sound like this.
Yes.
Really aggressively saying no TV show here.
I lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so you got a little bit of that. Okay. So to me, dissolving, lowering the ego is simply turning the volume down on the snow fuzz. If that's our ego, that's always going to be there. But yoga allows us to turn the volume down.
Yes.
So we can actually hear intuition, right? Yes. So you did exactly that. You're like, I see it, I hear it. I'm going to get the remote. I'm going to turn it down.
And with 3-part breath, here we go.
And with 3-part breath and a 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So I love this. We're going to get you in gear. We're going to get you on air. It's going to be happening. You're going to just like own it.
I'm so excited.
What if we're talking to the future chief of Rio Rancho Fire Department or wherever? I mean,
perchance.
Though the former chief takes my yoga class.
Yes,
you met him, Paul.
He's very kind.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for being my co-host today.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
And this woman that I interviewed, her name is Cassandra Morrison. She is the most gorgeous woman.
Okay.
Beautiful blonde hair. She has style, baby.
I love.
she's also always packing. Okay. She has got a designer purse, and you know there's a firearm in
I
there
love it.
because she's a former police officer.
Oh yeah,
Now,
she for sure has a gun.
yes,
in her
now
purse.
she's a realtor broker. She told me that they don't say agents in New Mexico. They say brokers or realtors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so now she's like, she killed it in law enforcement. Then she's like, and now I'm going to kill it in the real estate market. And she is like, she is definitely killing it. And every time I see her talk, I'm like, how are you the way you are?
Yeah,
Like,
she's a woman with drive.
She's a woman with drive and control. And I was like, can I interview you and find out why you are this way?
Yeah.
And she said, yes. So this is going to be a masterclass for us ladies, especially women in public safety.
Yes.
Right? You got to stand in your own and whatever. So let me tell you about Cassandra, because she served the city of the residents of the city of Albuquerque for over 20 years with the Albuquerque Police Department, and she retired as a sergeant.
Wow.
Her specialties in law enforcement included senior team lead for crisis negotiations, senior sergeant for the crisis intervention, field training sergeant, and instruction.
So a badass queen.
And all of her negotiations were successful throughout her career. I just got freaking chills.
I did too.
She never had someone jump. Wow.
Wow.
She has continued to serve Albuquerque as a New Mexico real estate broker. And like I said, she is killing it in that realm because she holds many certifications and designations. She's a real estate negotiation expert, obviously. Senior real estate specialist, luxury home marketing specialist. Finally, someone who knows my life. Luxury home. She's ePro certified. I don't know what that means, but she has a bunch of other stuff. At Home with Diversity, New Mexico Safe certified. She is repeatedly the top producer category with her local associations due to her production. Guys, you want to be like Cassandra. She has a degree in business administration with a minor in psychology and criminal justice. She utilizes her education as a woman-owned small business owner in Albuquerque. Do you see why she's like my spirit animal? She volunteers as the chairperson of professional standards with the Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors. She's a voting member for the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. I mean, I could go on and on, but she's a freaking badass. She's a treasurer of her favorite local 501c3 called Personalities Plus, but spelled PURS because I believe, I don't want to say it incorrectly, but I feel like it's helping. You know what? I'm not going to say something I don't know. Yeah, we'll get clarification later. So, and she's also served on the board of directors of the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. Now, on the most important note about Cassandra is that she is the mother of a 10-year-old Italian Greyhound fur baby, Giovanna.
Of course she is. Cassandra
enjoys golfing. Of course she does. New experiences and traveling as much as her career will allow her with her amazing husband, Jason. You guys, everyone else who isn't doing what Cassandra's doing in life is wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Cassandra has the way.
She has the way. So don't give me any excuses when Cassandra Morrison is out there mothering an Italian Greyhound, golfing, and also saving lives, being a badass in what's it called, law enforcement, selling luxury estates to seniors. I mean, anyway.
Golfing.
And golf. I mentioned golfing. That was the first thing I said. That was the most important. Anyway, honestly though, I just look up to this woman so much. And so I was so happy she took the time. So, you know what, Linz, you're going to learn a lot from her in this episode. So I hope you enjoy, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Welcome to Yoga for First Responders on Air, where we break down yoga, neuroscience, resilience, and public safety in a manner that's authentic, educational, and most importantly, entertaining and lighthearted. I'm YFFR's founder, Olivia Mead. As a yoga instructor and neuroscience enthusiast, I'm passionate about supporting first responders and anyone looking to improve their overall human performance. Each week, we'll dive into a new topic and often bring on expert guests to share their insights and experiences. But we'll also keep it real and share our own stories and struggles along the way. So, whether you're a first responder or seeking to master the science of mental and physical resilience, this podcast is your ultimate guide to triumph over life's challenges with unbreakable strength and unwavering fortitude. By pressing play, your training has begun. Cassandra, thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invite.
I have wanted you on this podcast for a long time because you are very expansive for me. And expansive for me and how I use it is you see someone who you are like, yes, that's a human I'm aspiring to. And it exists in this world. It's sometimes if you don't see the person you want to be, then how do you know that's even possible?
Right.
And so there are a couple things I want to point out that I really like about you and that really drew me to you. And then you can kind of tell me how you got there. Because why you're here, one of the reasons you're here is you had an entire career as a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
And what rank did you retire at?
I retired as a sergeant in field services. So I was in
Okay.
uniform managing officers.
Okay, amazing. And we're definitely going to talk a lot about that because that's our demographic. So you had this whole career. You come out of it, and from my perspective, okay, you come out of it super strong and knowledgeable and wise and like this badass. And then you're going to do a whole other career, okay? And you also are just gorgeous. I mean, honestly, you're just like when I first met you, I didn't know you were a speaker at one of the events, one of the networking events locally. You came up, we both talked about martinis or something at the bar. And I was like, oh, what a lovely gal, just gorgeous woman. And then you go on stage and just tell us how it is. So you're an amazing speaker. You have such, what do you call it? Like command of who you are, and what you believe in, and you talk about it with gusto. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. So we talk a lot about retirement too, because a lot of stuff goes down after retirement for folks. They've lost their purpose. They gain weight, their mental health goes down the toilet, and so we really say that we want to offer something from recruitment through retirement, the whole life. So how did you come to be able to, what gave you this grit that you have?
Well, probably my parents. My parents were both very strong work ethic individuals. My dad was in the military. My mother worked for the public school system. She wasn't a teacher. She worked in the administrative section. And just the work ethic I saw them have their entire life. And I thought, well, I'm no quitter. I had some challenges when I was with the police department, not going to lie. It was a challenging 20 years. Being a female, being educated, knowing policies better than most people, that's a gift and a curse all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to embrace myself and say, you do know, and it's okay to know what's right and what's wrong, and support that. And most of the people that would work for me repeatedly knew that if they did the right thing, I would support them 110%. If they goofed up, they needed to own it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, we all goof up in our lives. I've been through a divorce. That's a goof up. And I also look at goof ups as very strong, constructive criticism to the person or to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I receive that feedback and make sure that that doesn't happen again?
Mm-hmm.
So again, just looking at my parents and how they raised us.
Yeah.
My brothers decided to go to a different spectrum in their life with drugs and alcohol, unemployment. One of them was living on the streets of Albuquerque at one point. And, here I am, the opposite end of that spectrum, being a law enforcement officer, enforcing all the rules and the laws. I would get calls on both of my brothers. We got your brother arrested for DWI. What do you want us to do? I was like, book him.
Yeah.
I have no patience for stuff like that. And just knowing that I had, my mom, she was probably my strongest supporter my entire life. I had some trauma with my father when I was very young, But knowing that my mom had my back, especially later in life,
Mm,
was what kept me going.
mm. Where do you fall in your siblings?
I am the youngest and the only girl.
The youngest and the only girl.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense to most psychologists because they're like,
Yeah,
you should be the oldest.
right.
You should be the leader
Yeah,
of those children. And all three of us kids were all born within 3 years. We were born very consecutive,
yeah.
which is odd.
Interesting.
My
Yeah.
mom had all three of us in diapers at one time.
So when you said your mom has had your back, what would that look like, for example?
Well, long history of how I got into law enforcement. First of all, I got talked into it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like how that
Yeah.
happened too.
So, funny story. I quit my job one day. I was so tired of being a desk ornament, is what I called myself.
Hmm.
I had a junior executive position down here off of Montgomery and Monroe, getting paid a lot of money to do nothing. And I was
Mm,
bored to tears. So I
mm,
up and quit one day. Had no idea what I was going to do. Went down to TDI, which is now C&M, and applied for school.
mhm,
And when I applied for school, there was like 3 or 4 days before school started. So all of the classes that I needed were already booked.
mm.
And so my advisor at the time said, the only thing we really have available are these CJ courses. I'm like, well, what the heck is that? They're like criminal justice. I'm like, well, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And she told me it's kind of like police science. I'm like, okay,
Ooh.
I can use them as
Yeah.
electives, right? And she goes, oh yeah. She goes, you can use these as electives for any degree. I said, cool, sign me up.
Nice.
So the first term I signed up for, I think it was 5 or 6 CJ classes. That's all I had.
Hmm.
And my instructors were Bill Riley, he was a lieutenant with the Albuquerque Police Department, Joe Bowditch, he was high level at Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office.
Mm,
And I had Walt Niederberger, who was very high in Department of Corrections.
mm,
And this appeared to come naturally to me according to them.
hmm.
Like, you're a natural, you should put in, you should be a police officer. I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't like police officers. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a police officer. And they all just kept bugging me. Like, you need to do this career, you'd be good at it. I
Hmm.
did not crack a book and I was making A's.
Hmm.
I was like, well, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, it's in you, an innate
Something was
understanding.
there.
Yeah.
And it was probably because I was raised in a very strong militaristic family.
Hmm.
And, knowing the right from wrong is pretty commonsensical. So I followed that path. And finally, I got so tired, true story, of these three instructors like, put in your interest card for Bernalillo, put in your interest card for APD, put in your interest card for Department of Corrections. I was like, gosh, just get off my back.
Yeah.
And finally, one day I sat down and thought about it, no influence from anybody. And I was like, well, if I were to join one of these, like, what are the benefits? Doing the
Hmm.
whole pros and cons thing that my mom taught me to do.
Hmm.
I was like, well, there's retirement and, there's benefits and this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, okay, cool. So all three of them had the same. Big
Hmm.
deal.
Hmm.
Well, then this is such a girl move. Do not judge me, but this is such a girl move. I was like, well, what do they wear to work?
Yeah,
So
you need the cute uniform.
I looked at their uniforms. I'm like, well, I don't look good in brown because, it
Yeah.
just washes me out with my hair. I don't look it good in like militaristic green, like the olive green.
Yeah.
And then APD had the dark navy blue, almost black. And I'm like, well, that's pretty.
You're like, that'll go with my eyes. That'll look.
Yeah. So I went down and put in my interest card and went through the process. And the process took back then about 18 months
Yeah.
and made it through again. I was already athletic, so I didn't have to like train or, do anything extra. I was just like, it is what it is.
Hmm.
And sure enough, I made it.
Wow.
And I had to
And
drop out of college to go to the police academy.
and so when you started doing that, did you start to love it? Like, did you start to really kind of see? So it seems like your teachers at, CNM were your vision holders. Like they could
Yes.
see something that you weren't able to see yet. And then
They saw something I would have never seen in myself.
that's what's so important about vision holders too. And it's
Yes.
and it's different than don't listen to what other people say if you're not feeling
Right.
it. But we can only see so much, and someone else can, like this past weekend, I went to this event and we were supposed to really tap into what our gifts are. And I really got quiet and listened. And I was like, I'm the producer. I'm the producer of things. I create these trainings, I create curriculum. I always saw myself as the performer because I was a dancer and all of this stuff.
Hmm.
I'm the performer, and the producers were up here, and I'm just no, I'm the producer. I'm making things happen. So I told this to a few friends. They're like, yeah. We've seen that forever. You just notice this about yourself, so other people can really hold that. So when you got in, when did you start to feel that, oh yeah, this is the thing for me?
That took a while.
Really? Yeah.
That took a while, yeah. Going through the police academy, it wasn't easy. It was paramilitaristic. It was very male dominated.
Hmm.
There were only 6 women that started the police academy, and only 2 of us finished.
Oh wow, yeah.
And to me, that was like, oh dear, like, what am I in store for the rest of my career now?
Hmm.
And I saw it repeatedly when a woman or female officer would go up for a position, maybe in detectives, maybe in something else, but I would see it all the time where we weren't given opportunity.
Mm.
So I really never felt grounded um, in the beginning of my career. I can honestly say I was up against a battle. But
Hmm.
again, I'm not a quitter.
Hmm.
So at about 7 years, I thought about leaving APD and going to another agency in a different state. And I thought, gosh, I'm 7 years invested. I got 13 years to go because back then it was a 20-year retirement. Should I stay? Should I go? And then I started thinking purely retirement mode.
Mm.
What do I need to do to boost my retirement for when I'm done?
Hmm.
And I started specializing, started specializing in field training. I was a field training officer for a number of years. I'm very proud to say that one of the ladies that I trained, Cecily, she is now very high level at APD, and that is something I hold so dear to my heart. She is a rock star to me.
Mm. I love
I
that.
could not get promoted above sergeant because I didn't play the games.
Right.
I am by the book. I've always been by the book. I play by the rules. My daddy always told me if you want something, go after it on merit, earn
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Don't let somebody give it to you. And
Hmm.
so I did all of my specialties, again, field training. I used to instruct at the academy certain courses, got involved with crisis intervention, which was huge back then.
Hmm.
That's, I think it was 1999 when they finally brought crisis intervention to the city of Albuquerque, which was remarkable.
Hmm.
And I started training in that. I started training in crisis negotiations. So I learned how to talk to people. And
Yeah.
that's what brought me into public speaking is
Mm.
my fear level for speaking is very low compared to other people.
Hmm.
It's not a level of arrogance, it's a level of responsibility.
Hmm.
Because if I can talk a man or a woman off a bridge, they don't do self-harm. Or if I can talk a person to putting a gun down and they're not harming someone or themselves, that's huge.
Hmm.
So when I do speak to people, it's completely to be inspirational to someone else.
I was going to say what it feels like when you're speaking, because obviously I've heard you speak several times, is it feels as if you're giving us a gift. Honestly, it
Oh,
feels like I'm in a mentor session, like especially when you've been the MC for these events, but the first one I went to, you were a speaker.
yeah,
And it felt listening to you more than almost any speaker I've ever heard anywhere is that you were really talking to me as a mentee and giving me a gift, even though I was in this crowd. I wanted to be like, yes, thank you for this. And something changed when I was training for my TED Talk. I was told, like, with nerves or being, you know, having a hard time public speaking, is that you have a gift to give someone. And if you keep it from them, then that's selfish.
it
You're
is.
doing the world a disservice by being too afraid to get up there and so yeah, I can see talking to the public, training people, talking people off, out of crisis is, yeah, you learn to use your voice. My husband he was a firefighter and he's pretty soft spoken as a regular man, but I've seen him in action a couple times during an emergency. And all of a sudden he gets this voice from deep down of, to help someone. And he also is a public speaker and he can find that voice too. So it really is such a value that you've had to use your voice in difficult situations.
For sure. And not only the difficult situations, but speaking up for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up when things are not correct, when they're not right, being the voice so the ladies and gentlemen behind you don't have to go with what you go through.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a big weight that I felt is if I take this battle on, for instance, against the city of Albuquerque, if I take this battle on, am I going to improve something so nobody has to go through what I'm going through now?
Hmm.
And that was a huge weight, and I didn't take it lightly.
Yeah.
And people knew, if you're going to have Cassandra work around you, underneath you, above you, she's going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
She's going to follow those rules. And if you follow the rules, we're going to get along great.
What I'm noticing, what I'm picking up on with purpose is that you seem to have had and have this bigger purpose of who you are as a person, that working at the police department fit in, was into that, but it was this bigger purpose. So take the police department out, put in public speaking, put in realtor, whatever it is, you have this bigger overriding purpose. And I think that sometimes folks maybe join a public safety agency to give them purpose.
Mhm.
So then when it's taken away at retirement, they don't even know who they are. They don't even know what they stand for anymore.
That is a huge statement, and I 100% agree with you. Most law enforcement officers don't plan for when.
Hmm.
So when they retire, their identity is gone.
Yeah. You've
That
take,
identity is retired.
yes,
They don't
yes.
plan for when they retire, what is my new purpose? What is my new identity? What is my new gift?
Hmm.
And to me, I had to plan way ahead of time, a couple of years ahead of time, because in so many instances, just in my personal experience with law enforcement, people would retire and we had one guy die within 4 days of
Yeah, I
retirement.
mean,
And that is heart-wrenching,
horrible.
and I wanted to have a bigger, better purpose for another facet of my life. And
Yeah.
I wanted to do something different. I got into real estate kind of as a fluke, if you will.
Hmm.
My husband and I at the time were flipping houses, and I saw how much the real estate professionals were making, and I thought, oh gosh, I can do that.
Hmm.
So we talked about it one night. I said, hey, I'm thinking about going to real estate school. And he goes, me too. I said, well, I'm getting ready to retire in a couple of years. We owned a business, an HVAC company. So he's like, okay, we wrote the check and I started in a few days. I was just like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was never going to go full time. This was going to be completely selfish to save on commissions so we could continue flipping
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then when your personal life changes overnight and you got to have a second income, because the retirement's not enough to cover your bills. I went all in April of 13, full time. This was my new career. I have
Yeah.
no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to prospect. I didn't know how to do anything. And again, go back to if you're learning, you're living. That was something my
Mm.
daddy used to say to me all the time. And I stopped the tears. I said, you know what? This is going to be my next best thing, and I'm going to make it work.
Mm.
I took every single class I could. If it was, $25 or $100, I was taking every single class I could to
Yeah.
learn more and more and more and to be better and better and better. And within my first 3 year cycle, we're only supposed to have about 30 credit hours of continuing ed. I had like 170 something
Nice.
because I had to get my stuff together.
Yeah.
I was in survival mode.
What a motivator. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I mean, I'm divorced too, and I definitely had trauma from it because I was solely financially dependent on him. I was just starting yoga for first responders, so no money there, all of that. And literally, he cut me off before I
Oh,
got an attorney. He cut me off from finances, like all of this stuff. So it's like
sounds
your
very
basic,
familiar.
yeah. So your Maslow's hierarchy needs, right? My basic needs, no place to live, no dollars coming in at all, so you get
Laser
focus.
focus.
Yes, exactly. And also it sounds like again, you had these stabilizing things, sounds like from growing up, that I don't care what I give you to do, you have these driving principles that are going to make it successful. I mean, that's what I keep envisioning is just this bigger purpose. And I think when I'm offering yoga to people, it's not to stretch your hamstrings. It's not to relax. I'm actually giving folks a bigger purpose. I want to give them a narrative for their life. They can come to the yoga mat, they can process their stress, build resilience, enhance performance, know that their breath is their anchor, and have something bigger for themselves than just putting on the uniform every day.
Right.
you know?
And I'll tell you, if you learn, and this is something I learned from a very tragic experience after I retired. Um, I hate to even admit this out loud, but I had a really awakening style situation. I had a full-blown panic attack in the middle of a Walmart neighborhood store.
Mm,
I thought I was dying,
mm-hmm,
physically dying. And by the grace of God, and I truly believe God is a part of this, is the next woman that came down that grocery aisle was a nurse.
mm,
She saw what I was going through and she's like, and I was on the ground,
yeah.
couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it was 800, times bigger than it was. I couldn't speak. She was taking my pulse and she's like, I'm going to call 911. And I'm just like, don't let me die. That's the only thing I could keep thinking. Like,
Mm,
I'm not done.
yeah.
And it was because I did not take care of this and
Mm-hmm.
this. I just thought, I'll put my hands on my hips, I'll be fine.
Oh, right.
And that's
Exactly.
not the right thing to do in all cases. And I had suppressed so much trauma throughout my entire life from the time I was about between 6 and 10 years old up through the police department. My first marriage was extremely violent, and being manipulated in my second marriage, it was just something that built up that I didn't deal with. I don't blame anybody about that except me. I played tough girl for years and years and years until I finally had to humble myself and say, something's not right.
But
What is?
what other choice did you have? Because we're not taught how. We're
Mm-mm.
not taught how to process stress. You know, the act of crying is actually one of the ways the nervous system regulates itself to be able to get back to baseline. What happens when someone cries? We hand them a tissue to wipe away their tears. Oh, don't cry, right? So we're taught to be superwoman and power through.
Yeah. Don't mess up the makeup.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
knowing that processing actually makes you strong to keep moving forward, but we're not taught that regularly, you know?
No.
And so,
And there's a lot of stigma that goes with getting help. A
oh,
lot of stigma. And if people could wrap their heads around it, and I experienced it, and I preach it to friends and family, get help before it's too late. Because
yeah,
if you go through what I went through, which I never want anybody to experience, that is horrible. I don't want to be on medications. I'm completely against the big pharma thing. I think
yeah,
everything we do can be controlled by exercise, nutrition, and your environment.
yeah.
And, when I went to the emergency room that day, which was, again, very humbling, the doctors took all kinds of tests and did everything. You're not having a seizure, you're not having this, but we think you're having a panic attack. I'm like, what the hell is that? I didn't know what the heck that was.
Yeah,
And, they recommended me to go talk to a psychologist or psychiatrist. So I went to my mom's best friend, Susan, who is in psychology. I
yeah.
was like, hey, Susan, what the heck is this?
Mm.
Her and I just had coffee down on the Central Flying Star. She's such a sweetheart. And so I explained to her what happened. And she's like, yeah, you need to get some help. And
So,
I was like, sure, I do. I'm good. I brushed her
okay,
off.
okay. So when did
And
you end up going?
eventually, yes, I was already retired at the time.
Okay.
And what I did is I called one of my doctors that we used to use on the criminal negotiation team.
Mm-hmm.
They would come in anytime we'd have a call out and they were there for psychological consults.
Yeah,
And I called them because we became friends over 12 years.
yeah.
And I was like, hey, can I meet you for coffee and just run something past you? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we met for coffee up off of Riverside and Coors. And he told me the same thing as Susan did. And here's the crazy thing. Both of these individuals recommended that I speak to the same doctor.
Oh, well, there you go.
Is that not a sign from God
Yeah,
saying you need to get help, young lady?
yeah.
So I made the appointment. I got on the wait list and saw this person, and he dove deep into my soul to find out all of the trauma that I had been
Mm.
dealing with and suppressing, not only from being a kid, but from the police department and how I was treated there, relationships, how I was treated there. And I broke out of it. It took 6 years.
So
6 years.
So what would, and that's another thing to remember, like it's not nothing's an easy quick fix.
No,
It takes work. This should be part of like being in life is like, okay, we have coaches and teachers for everything. We need one for
exactly.
life. We need someone in lockstep with us. So what would you say now are your resilience tools? Another thing before you answer that is I think when people look at someone like you, right? Look up to you, you're gorgeous, you have it all together, you're speaking great. We're not thinking that's someone who goes to therapy. That's
Right.
someone who had a panic attack in a Walmart. And so I think these conversations are important to know that yes, you can have your shit together and you can like be great and legitimately, not like a facade. And all of this stuff is you're processing and dealing with in order to get there. So I just want to point that out too, is, the people who have it together are also simultaneously having the tools for resilience. So what would you say your go-to tools are?
Communication.
Okay.
If you have a partner, like, I am married to the most wonderful man on the planet right now. He is everything I could have asked God for, and he was dumped in my lap. And I cherish every minute with him because I know I can talk to him about anything without judgment.
Mm,
He is a good listener. He's not a fixer. He doesn't want to fix it. He wants to be my sounding board. And then he'll ask me, can I chime in? Can I give you some advice? And I'm like, yeah. If I have an employee problem with one of the brokers that works for me, he's like, what about this? What about that? And he gives me all of these ideas. And
mm,
it's like, that's what I need. I still have a guy that I go see. He's a life coach to me now.
mm,
I do periodic check-ins with him. And I'm like, when I was going under a tremendous amount of stress back in June of this year, I I felt my little bubbles climbing to the top, and I was like, time out. Hey, I need an appointment. And after he met me and he does hypnosis, he does behavioral change environment type stuff, cognitive therapy, he does all kinds of stuff. And he put me under hypnosis that day just to bring me down a few pegs.
yeah.
Because he's like, you're so wound up right now, we can't solve what's going on.
Yeah.
We can't. He goes,
Yeah.
but we can form the tools to do it. And it took a little while. And so I was seeing him once a week back in June, early
Yeah.
July. And then we go back to our regular scheduled program, which is about once every 4 to 6 months. And it's a champion.
That's actually a very traditional yoga. That's how you see your teachers and mentors. You have like a period of study, and then you
Mhm.
go out in the world and live life, and then you come back and have your period of study. Um,
Absolutely. And
one,
don't
two,
stop.
don't
You've
stop. No, no,
got,
no. It's
don't stop.
continuous. Yeah. Because it's not a quick fix. It's
No,
life be life in. And then you have more stuff to help you uncover who you are, you know?
exactly.
Two things that are coming to mind that I'm noticing when I'm like, okay, what is really making her this resilient person? One is you have awareness. You said, I felt my bubbles coming up. You have, I can see that you have a self-awareness enough to know when you're going off the rails, you know?
Hmm.
And doing something about it. And also you have a team around you. You
Yes,
had what seemed like really strong, parent figures for you. Then you have a strong husband, you have your life coach, you have a therapist, you have let's rally the team, circle the horses here because we got to like,
absolutely.
and so I think having those resources and support for different, like, you have a partner and maybe the partner's a great listener but doesn't know what the tools to give you. Okay, so then you go to your life coach and they're not a romantic partner but they give you the tools you need. So you have these resources all around you.
And use those resources. When I first started dating my husband almost 5 years ago, it was a conversation like, I'm going to go through challenges.
Yeah.
And when I go through challenges, I want somebody to talk to. It's critical in a relationship. Whether
Hmm.
it's your friend relationship, your partner relationship, your husband, whatever, it is critical to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, he goes, give me an example of what that means to you. And I said, it means the world. And I'll give you an example of what it looks like. I have a bad day doing whatever I'm doing. And you come home, I tell you I love you, you walk in the door, then I say, and this happened today. And I just kind of word vomit on you.
Hmm.
That's sometimes the only thing I need to do is just get it out.
Hmm.
And I can feel my bubbles starting to go down. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay. I said, there's going to be a lot of times where I say, help me understand what happened here. And I can tell you, I've been married almost five, or we've been together almost 5 years, married almost two. And I will tell you, we've had one argument, and it wasn't yelling, it wasn't screaming, it was very respectful.
Hmm.
And at the end of it, we weren't trying to say, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. It was one of those things we agree to disagree. This is a difference between us, and we're okay with it.
Yeah.
We embraced it.
Because we're different people, so we have
And I
different
love him for
lens.
who he is. I don't want him to change in any way.
Yeah, right.
And he
Exactly.
understood that completely. It was just like, some guys are like, oh, you're trying to change me and that's not who I am. No, I fell in love with you for who you are.
Yeah.
Stay there. Just know we're on different platforms with this topic. And it was great.
You know what you're describing really takes a strong prefrontal cortex. You know, that's where communication is, that's where like the cognitive discernment of what's going on, the nuances. And when folks are in a high stakes, high stress profession like law enforcement, um, you know, unfortunately, it's how, not even unfortunately, but how our brain works is you get more and more pulled into survival because we're just
Yep.
not built to see all of that stuff. We're just not. And then if your prefrontal cortex is offline, you go home, and even if you wanted to communicate with your partner, your brain even won't let you. So it's
No.
almost like the practice of communicating is like lifting weights for your prefrontal cortex. It's exercising it to stay online, which is then going to help you communicate. You know, I've done tons of ride-alongs, and I always joke. So I actually went through a police academy to build YFFR. Yeah, I went through a police academy and a fire academy.
Oh my gosh.
And this was like 10 years ago. Um, and I'm just like, so, I got a taste of all of that. And I joked with the sergeant who became a good friend of mine, the training sergeant. I said, I could never be a police officer because I either am overly compassionate or empathetic and just be like, go on, you were just having a bad day. That's why you
Right.
tried to stab that person. Just go. You just
Go
get
home.
some, have a cup of coffee. Or if I'm in a bad mood, I'd be the opposite and be like, you looked at me wrong. You know what I mean? And I would be one or the other. And so I can't be a police officer. Um, but when I've done all these ride-alongs, what impressed me so much was, and they'd always put me with really great officers, and how they would speak to people and ask questions to someone, an unhoused person or whatever, just like with such compassion, and especially the women. Here's another thing. Another commander I've worked with was telling me how he thinks that law enforcement is actually more of a maternal job. We always think of it for men
I agree 100%.
because we're protecting and holding the public and the community. And so he loves female officers to be able to bring that,
Yep.
you know. Um, and so, yeah, so prefrontal cortex, how you communicate with people, how you communicate at home, and they can help each other, you know?
And it's the same thing in law enforcement. I mean, some of my best partners were men, and then you turn around and ask them the same question. Some of my best partners were women
Right.
because we would balance each other. They would go in, like you said, like, you're going to jail for looking at me wrong. And I'd
Right.
be, settle down there, cowboy. Let's talk to this individual and find out why they're having a bad
What's
day.
happening here? Yeah.
Yeah. And once we do that, he's like, okay, they don't have to go to jail. I'm like, great.
Yeah, it's
And
nuance.
it is. And I have a different delivery system than they do. They have a
Yeah.
different delivery system than I did.
Yeah.
And it worked out. And once I got into crisis intervention and learned how to
Mm,
really talk to people, oh my God, I stopped getting injured at work. I've got broken bones. You see my little pinky's all
yeah.
messed up, tore bicipital tendon in my shoulder, all this stuff because I was trying to manhandle people.
Right.
You do this, and before I retired, I was to the point of, you need to sit down. We're going to put the handcuffs on you. And sometimes they'd want to put them on themselves. It's all using communication. That's why I say communication is probably one of the biggest things in life that you can do to yourself. Living is learning, learning is living. I read a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I read what I feel I need, not what
Mm,
somebody says. Oh, I read a good book. Well, if I look at the title and I read the preface and the intro and it's not something I'm feeling I need at the moment, I may not read that book.
yeah.
But if
Yeah.
it's something that resonates with me, I'm like, not only am I going to buy it, I'm probably going to get the Audible so I can listen to it too.
Mm-hmm.
So having having to look deep inside yourself, when I was going through all of my mental health recovery from the police department and the trauma, I had so many people say, oh, you need to read this book, you need to read that book. And I just went online and Googled and said, what's the best book to deal with this,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the topic was.
Mm-hmm.
And I would read the preface and intros to about 6 or 7 books until I found the one that hit my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the one I need.
Yeah.
And I still do that, with business. I'm managing 215 people now which is probably the most I've ever managed in my life.
Yeah.
And so I need to learn how to manage people throughout the state that I'm not in front of.
Hmm.
I can always do Zooms or Google Meets like we're doing now. And I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest things ever to feel somebody's energy through that computer.
Hmm.
Because when they can see, I am looking at you,
Hmm.
but I'm communicating with you.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
huge rather than just, picking up the phone and saying, let's talk about this. It's
Yeah.
not the same.
I actually interviewed a friend of mine. I've been going to the FBI National Academy Conference for like 10 years. I met him year one. So he's
Uh-huh.
been my like, he's this like character. He's a retired colonel with the Air Force, blah, blah, blah,
Mm.
but he's my buddy. And he teaches a lot of leadership and operational leadership and things like that. And one thing we talked about yesterday was um, how you give feedback, you
Mhm.
know? It's not just giving slapping feedback on someone,
Mhm.
right? He called it the now next. Like if he said, if you're looking back at a football play and you're coaching your athletes and they messed up X, Y, or Z, but they did this really well. Now we want more of this.
Yeah.
Now we want this. Next we want this. So there's ways to frame feedback so it inspires and motivates people. You give them the guardrails of what you want them to do and then let them go to town within those guardrails.
Yeah. Empower them to make more decisions that are good.
Right. Yes,
That's what I
exactly.
do in real estate every day. It's like, they submit their files online and I get to review them. And I'm not one to just say, oh, I'm just going to reject this because I want to make it a learning experience to say, hey, do you have a minute to talk about this file? Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about this file. And I say, this is fantastic. This is perfect. Whatever you need to do. This isn't so much.
Hmm.
And then I follow it up. I always end on the positive saying, I'm so happy we could have this conversation. It sounds like it was very well received. Do you have any questions? They're like, no. And I'm like, keep doing the great work you're doing. Just do
Yeah.
more of it.
Just do more. Keep on that trajectory.
Yeah. And it seems to be very well received. I mean, I'm able to bring people into the company I'm with now because people know I'm compassionate and I will
Yeah.
never lose that. That is who I am to my core.
Yeah.
Have I had to terminate some people? I think since a year ago, I've terminated 8 people.
But that's still a compassionate move too,
Well,
because it
they're
just
not on the
might,
right
they're
bus.
not on the right. Yeah, it's not for them.
Nope.
And I mean, honestly, like with my first marriage, he had to leave me because I wouldn't, because I was too scared of not having stability or whatever. So he had to do it for me. Not in the best way, but still the point is is that sometimes you have to lead people to where they need to go, and that is a compassionate move.
Well, and by him doing that, look at what it awakened inside yourself.
Oh, I know. It's such
It's like,
it's a gift.
yeah, you didn't see it at the time, but now it's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like,
Dude,
seriously, thank
I
you.
would not be talking to you right now if it
Right?
weren't. So I'm grateful for the whole thing and how I can take every little thing I learn and apply it to the next day um and it's just so cool. I know a handful of people in law enforcement and fire service who are just, I guess, beat the odds. They're like extraordinary. They came out of it better than they started, and they're just,
Yeah.
and I just love to. I mean, someone's on our board who's a retired deputy federal marshal, and he would escort serial killers to places. He's the sweetest, nicest dude in the
Bless him. I
world.
could never do that.
Oh, he said it was horrible,
I
you
bet.
know.
And some of the stories he could tell.
Oh yeah. And so,
Oh,
but he's genuine kindness. It's like I want to tease out where that is so we can wrap it up and gift it to everyone. And I think you're absolutely right, is making communication a priority, which
for sure.
means making working on your prefrontal cortex a priority. And if I do say so myself, yoga techniques make your prefrontal cortex turn on. That's why we're doing it.
That's
It's
huge.
not for your hamstrings. It's for
Nope.
this. So you have better communication, so we end up resilient. And I'm in the middle of building a family and spouses course right now for first responders, the families and spouses of first responders, because I want them to also have strong communication understanding. And Cassandra, I'm building kids videos.
Awesome.
I teach cops, okay? But since it's a family and kids and spouses course, I have to explain like yoga to like little kids.
How
I
cute.
gotta send you one. It is, I don't know if I'm good at it because it's like, hey kids, let me tell you about trauma. No, that's not right. Let me start again. I'm like, like, hey kids, does your parent like come home and feel like, I'm like, how am I gonna
Oh
say
my
it?
God. That's great
I
though.
know, but I'm trying to tell them like, okay, here's the deal. If your first responder family member, loved one, comes home and just walks to their room, let them. This is what's
Yeah,
happening in their brain. You know, let the process happen. Invite them to do these techniques with you so you both process, bring the prefrontal cortex online, have a shared language, and then can talk, So that's exactly what we're trying to do with this course is get the whole team to
that's
be able to have these
fantastic.
skills.
Yeah, and also for the single individuals, because I was single a lot of my career, for the single individuals, let them know they've got to create an identity outside of that law enforcement community. They have to.
Yes.
Maybe they need to give back to their community, which I think is huge. Maybe they need to seek counseling of some sort while this is going on, because we saw so much stuff in 20 years. I still have night terrors on some of it.
I can
Still.
imagine.
And when I have them, I know how to respond. I know how to interpret it. My husband knows how to respond. He knows how to interpret it. And that's when I know, and it's usually when my bubbles start increasing in the boiling water, it's like, I'm a little too stressed. Something's about to happen. I need to recenter.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, no, I'm not going to take that Zoom. I really have to focus on some wellness at the moment. And I've been very good at saying no in my later years. I
Good
would have
for
never said
you.
no in my younger years. I would
Make me
take on
neither.
everything.
Yeah.
Will you do this? Yes. Will you help me with that? Yes. I would not say no. And now I'm like, I'm very limited on what I'll do.
I have
Even with some of the
very,
committees I'm on,
oh yeah.
will you be the chair next year? And I'm like, no, no.
Self-prioritizing,
Yeah,
boundaries, being sacred with your time and energy. I've learned that as I've gotten older too. And I always tell people, I can tell who you are by how you practice yoga. I say this to my recruits because all the recruits I've taught think they're Superman because they're young and they feel that way, right?
of course.
If you don't scale down a drill that I'm telling you to scale down and you're fighting for it like this, I know you're driven by ego. So I don't care how big your muscles are, how much you're fighting through it and suppressing whatever. To me, all I see is someone fragile that I go boop and they're going to break.
Yeah, they'll fall
Someone,
over.
yeah, someone who knows themselves enough to know when to scale a drill on the mat, knows to put up those boundaries to focus on. That's someone I'd go into battle with because I know that they're, grounded and solid from the inside out.
Exactly.
And that's what I want people to realize. And I'm hoping little by little, we start to get rid of that just big, bad, bust through it attitude and start to really understand that it comes from deep roots. Resilience comes from deep roots.
And even though all of us have the ability to have resilience, not a lot of people have taken the time to build it.
Oh, yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
know. Gosh.
And if that's one thing I could talk to law enforcement officers about, it's like you have the ability to survive nearly everything,
Hmm.
mentally, physically, everything. You've got the tools physically. They train you like crazy in the academy, which is good. But when it comes to the mental health part, and you see one of the things I still deal with today is a 10-year-old who hung himself from a ceiling fan while his parents were having a domestic violence. And that's something I deal with repeatedly. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things, I felt like I could have prevented it, which I couldn't have.
No.
It's not my fault or our fault or the police department's fault or mom and dad's fault that he committed suicide. He did it because he needed to, for
Yeah.
whatever his purpose or reasons were.
Yeah.
But that is something that I still see quite frequently
Yeah.
because he was only 10,
Oh my gosh, my
only
heart.
10.
Yeah.
And if people could understand, the amount of stuff that law enforcement sees not only through their career, but it could be just on a daily basis.
Yeah.
When I was in APD, I went to the violent crimes team. That's what they called it back then. And it
Hmm.
was a violent crimes impact team. We would get dispatched out to investigate homicide. This is before they created the homicide team. And I got on the violent crimes team and I investigated one homicide. And I knew right then and there,
Done.
nope, don't want to do
Yep.
that again.
Yep.
Because it was a gentleman who had sexually assaulted a child. And this was up off Central and Wyoming area. Sexually assaulted a child inside this hotel room. Somebody else in this hotel complex found out about it and beat him to death. So now I'm having to find the murderer for somebody who I don't believe should be on the planet,
Right. You're the vigilante, basically.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to investigate that. And it is not something I ever wanted to experience again. So I left pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah. I tell my instructors, so we also train people inside departments too that have no yoga experience. They're always the best, actually. And then people who are yoga teachers, whatever, our protocol for teaching yoga to first responders. And one of the things we mention is being a yoga teacher in this space, working in the space, training in the space. Eventually, well, not only are you going to hear secondarily these things, okay, but also you will, you're going to know someone who dies.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had about, let's see, maybe about four people that were my students that either died in the line of duty or took their lives. And so we have to do the work as well. No one is can get away without doing this kind of
Oh,
work. We focus on first responders and like what we do because it's such a specific niche that's such a great example of all these things. It's just 100 times more than than just the regular population.
right.
But honestly, it's for everyone. I mean, you talk about trauma that happened when you were a child before you were a police officer.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to law enforcement.
No, and it all builds up. It does. And that's something, again, I used to call it the boiling water. When the boiling water started to get
Oh,
too rough, it was like, okay, something's going on here. And I only learned this because of that panic attack.
hmm,
Before I just suppress it and move on to the next day or the next call or the next violent incident. I just would suppress it and suppress it and suppress it till your whole body's full of suppression.
yeah.
And it's like something's going to break. And it
Oh,
did.
yeah.
I
It
had
takes
no
a
idea. I
little
thought I was
thing,
invincible.
right?
At the time it happened, I was what, 43, almost 45 years old.
Hmm.
This was several years ago, but I tell people you don't have to be 10, 15, 23, 25 when it happens. It'll happen anytime when it's ready to happen.
Yeah.
Best way to prepare yourself is deal with it. Communicate.
Yeah.
Communicate with someone, hopefully a professional. And that's one thing I liked. I think it was House Bill 187, if I remember correctly, when it got passed a few years ago here in the state of New Mexico. The House bill was like, if you need mental health, there is no copay. And who should not be going?
Right.
That's the thing. And one of the ladies that's in my business coaching session, she owns a Bosque Mental Health here in Albuquerque.
Hmm.
Very highly respected organization, very highly respected. And if I know people that I see, it's like, you need to talk to somebody, call her. And I kind of write them about it. Call her
Yeah.
before it's too late.
Yeah. You
Because
know
for
what?
me, it was almost too late. I was almost ready to take my own life.
Yeah. Because you can't
And
live like that. This is the thing. It's
no,
like it's torture to have to
you
live
don't
like
have
that.
to live that way.
Right. Right.
You don't have to. And that's what people say, oh, my life, sucks and stuff like you don't have to have a life that sucks.
Yeah.
Trust me when I say this. You can have the most rewarding life if you deal with what you got.
Yeah. And you know
And
how. And you're
yeah,
given we have to teach folks how to do it. Just
get the
give them that
tools.
number, get the tools. I during my divorce, I had one of my cop students actually give me the name of his therapist and the therapist they used there because I wasn't seeing a therapist because I wasn't thinking about myself. Like anyway, it was the best thing I ever did. She was awesome. But she told me you don't have to do anything. And it's the same thing. I'm not obligated to anything or anyone but myself and my own joy.
Right.
And if you start making decisions on that, then you can serve other people.
And it gives you more to give those others,
Exactly.
which is where I think my path led me. It's like I'm all about giving. I always have been. I was the one that rescued cats when I was like 3.
Oh,
There's a cat on the street,
speaking
I'm
of
taking him home.
that, look at
Oh
there's
my
my
goodness, so precious. Yeah. And I noticed when I was a cop, I was the same way. I
Yeah.
wanted people, instead of going to jail, get help, whatever that
Hmm.
is. Sometimes it was alcohol treatment, drug treatment, anything I could find for them. Sometimes it was even just a meal box that I could get from CIT to get food for the family. But when I was leaving law enforcement, it scared me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now?
Hmm.
I have the very deepest need to do that for people. Well, now I do it in real estate. I do it in real estate by getting people their first home, by getting the
Mm,
people their next home, to watch their family grow and then buy their next home. I'll tell you one of the most rewarding real estate deals I had, and this is about 9 years ago. I still
mhm,
remember this woman to this day. She was 62 years old at the time. She called, she wanted to buy a house. I was like, have you ever been pre-qualified for a mortgage? She goes, no. I put her in contact with a mortgage professional. The mortgage professional worked with her for 18 months. She didn't have bad credit. She had zero credit.
mhm.
She was from the era they paid everything
Wow.
cash. Phone bill was cash, rent was cash,
Yeah.
utilities were cash. I was like, we got to build her credit.
Yeah.
Once she was credit worthy, the mortgage broker called me and said, she's ready.
Mm,
I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. What's her price point? She said 105,000. I was like, oh, it's not a lot of money.
no.
Now, this is 9, almost 10 years ago. Price points were different in Albuquerque, which was good.
Yeah.
I had nothing to show her, nothing in the multiple listing service. So I started calling my friends in real estate. Do you have anything 105 or lower? And that's what I did. I burned up phones for days on end. Finally got a hold of a good friend of mine, Debbie Dank, amazing woman. She goes, my mother-in-law just died. We're going to be selling her house. I was like, I'll take it. What is it? Where is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's in the Northeast Heights, good area, 99,000. And I was like, sold. When can we see it? And she goes, give me a couple of weeks. We're still working with the effects in the house.
Yeah.
Took Lori over there, and Lori says, I love it. I said, what do you love about it? She goes, it's everything I wanted. And I said, well, if you could do one thing to the house, what would you do? She goes, I'd paint that room purple. I was like, your favorite color is purple. And she goes, yeah. So made an offer, got the mortgage person involved, closed that sucker.
Mm.
At the closing table, it was me, the title person, the mortgage person, and Lori. And all four of us were crying because we could not believe we made this woman's dream come true.
Yeah.
And she was so appreciative. The size of her heart was the size of Texas.
Mm.
And she was crying because she wanted to own a house.
Yeah.
So she did not know this, but I had hired my handyman to do two things: paint that room purple
Oh.
and change her locks.
Oh.
So when I gave her the keys, I said, these are new keys to your property. Nobody else has them but you.
Yeah.
And by the way, you have a purple room. And we were all just like, "Woo!" It was terrible. But that is the deal that I remember the most because that's what I live for.
Yeah.
That, and it doesn't have to be $9 million. It doesn't even have to be,
No.
200,000. $99,000 was the best transaction I've ever done in 15 years.
I think this is the art of real estate because I know a lot of real estate agents that either I've worked with and I've sucked. I told you a little bit about that, or
Yeah.
hope they're not listening. Um, or they went into real estate to just try to make money, whatever. It doesn't, when you put the art around it, when you put again, the bigger purpose,
Hmm.
because you are serving people, whether you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
uniform or whether you're a realtor, your bigger purpose is serving people. And I know that if all of this, if your brokerage is taken away from you in 1 second, you would find another avenue to live your purpose. So
Absolutely.
what I'm seeing in you is like you have a strong prefrontal cortex that means you have awareness and you have good communication and you have a strong purpose. And that literally comes through you energetically. Like I felt it the moment I met you.
Oh, thank you.
If there was, what do you take from law enforcement that you apply to your life now? What's a gift that it has given you?
The sixth sense in people.
Mm,
The sixth
mm,
sense, and I use it every day in real estate. When I meet a new buyer, when I meet a new seller, that sixth sense in my being can tell me, number one, are they good people? Because I
yeah,
only work with good people. I don't
yeah,
work with bad people. And number two, are they serious? Are you
yeah.
serious about buying? Or are you serious about selling? So that sixth sense, and I know how to use that talent in a professional way. Not like,
Hmm.
I can't, you don't seem serious in buying a house. I don't do it that way.
Yeah,
I make them realize it.
yeah,
I'm not going to go out and show you 27 houses. I'm
right.
not.
Yeah.
When I'm working with a buyer, I do a buyer consultation. I sit down with them to let them know this is reality. This
Hmm.
is what it takes to schedule a tour. This is not something I take lightly.
Yeah.
This is something that I am very well respected for in the industry. I don't like to cancel appointments. That's not fair to the person trying to sell their home or the other broker.
Hmm.
And so they get the fact that I'm very serious about my job.
Hmm.
Am I in it for the money? Well, I wouldn't do this job for free. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
I
And
really
that's
would.
fair. Let's talk
Yeah.
about like I also want to change the stigma around money. I want to talk about numbers. I don't want to be weird about debt things. I want us to
Right.
like just be transparent and that empowers us.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you had a job in the world that you could do for free and that you would do for free, that's everybody's individual choice. You do you, as I always say. You do you. I'm in this job to make money because I'm planning my legacy. I am
Ah,
planning my legacy for, I want to have a debt-free life, and I'm so close. And once I have a debt-free life, then I want to travel more with my spouse. Those are
ah.
my two biggest things on the planet that I'm working towards. And he knows it as well as I do. And we are both on the same page with everything.
And you have
It's
personal
like,
goals. You have purpose
yeah.
and personal goals.
And it's something I look forward to. When we book a trip anywhere, I mean, it could be like next week, we're going to Ojo Caliente for one night.
Nice.
It gives me something to look forward to.
Eric and I do that too. We went to Ruidoso and had a little cabin for a weekend, and it
Right.
was just little. And we didn't leave the cabin except to go outside to the hot tub. Like that was it, you
Exactly.
know? And it's like we just need more of those little things to keep the connection with our spouse too, you know?
Well, and the fact that you guys deserve it together.
Yeah.
And that's something that's hard for me to accept. It's like, do I really deserve this? Should I be taking off work? I am embracing that more. I am. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard because even when I went to Orlando a couple of weeks ago for a conference. Yeah, I was there for the conference, but I was still working the entire time. You know, I
Yeah.
managed 215 people. I can't just say, oh, I'll be back in a few days. Good luck. Can't do that. So, and my husband understands it. When we go on vacation, I need about an hour to an hour and a half a day, get the work done, and then we're good.
That's what I literally had this conversation too. We went to Mexico a few weeks ago, and I told them that I wanted time to be able to work because I came to this realization that my work isn't a regular 9 to 5 job.
Right.
And I was looking at it that way, thinking that I had to have a job or something. And then I was like, no, it's my gifts, it's my creative work, it's in and about me. It's not a Monday through Friday thing.
Right.
If I get a ping and an idea at Saturday at 4 p.m., then that's when I'm working. Or if I feel like I cannot get my head together to be creative on Wednesday, then I'm not doing it, you
Then
know?
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just it lives and breathes. You are it, it is you, but you have this bigger purpose that it's
Mhm.
not, you're not internalizing it either, you know?
No, and I've had to work through the feeling of guilt, not being available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Mhm.
I've worked through that, and it's like, no, my time, either by myself or with my spouse or his children, that is important to me. It is a priority to me.
Yeah.
When I go to lunch with the family on Sundays, because we usually take his kids out to lunch or dinner on Sundays, I don't look at my phone. I don't answer text messages. I don't respond. I mean, my phone is in my purse on the floor half the time.
Yeah.
And I would have never done that.
Yeah.
Would have never done that before. But it's like, going through growth and realizing what is important to you. And you've seen this, you've gone to lunch with somebody and they have their phone open and it's sitting over to the side and they keep like, hey, I'm going to look at you.
Yeah.
When I'm engaged with somebody at lunch or coffee, my phone is closed in my purse over there.
You're present, it's purposeful, and you're intentional with your time. I mean, I
Absolutely.
I think this was just such a master class in here's how to keep yourself, like keep yourself a priority, regardless of the work you're doing, law enforcement or whatever, you're the priority.
And you
And
have to make yourself the priority.
yeah,
Nobody else is going to do it
no,
for you.
that's the thing is no one's going to say to you, you need a couple days with your husband. No one's
Oh,
going
no,
to
no, no.
say that.
Never.
You have to take care of yourself and the whole thing of like, oh, my mother, she was always selfless. She always put herself last and us first. That's not great. Okay?
No.
Like and so we don't need to glorify that. The more you put yourself first, then again, like you said, you have something to give other people.
Right.
So, it's not a selfish act to think about what your vibe is and what's going to make you the best version of yourself. And I don't know, I just see that in you very clearly.
Well, and again, I mean, it goes back to a lesson my mother taught me. My father died in 1991. My mom was single for a number of years, and then she met her boyfriend, and they were boyfriend girlfriend for almost 15 years before she passed away. And I saw something in her when she retired from APS, and she was like, I'm done. She
Mm.
went on a 1 month vacation to Cancun, Mexico. Of course, she was still available to me because I would go down there once a year with her. I flew down one of those weeks. We spent the week together, mother-daughter week.
Mm,
Came back and she was a different new person.
mm,
And I was like, what are you going to do, Mom? She was so young. I was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to get another job? You're going to do this? She goes, nope, I am going to travel. And I was like, huh. And when I saw that in her, I was like, wow. And my mother in 15 years went to 52 different countries.
oh my God.
Yes. So that when I saw her doing that, I'm like, gosh, you talk about living life. My mother lived life to the extreme.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would ever do it to that extreme, but I want to be like that, like my mom. There's nothing that I can say. She spent our inheritance and go for it. I don't need the money. My brothers were going to use it for drugs and alcohol.
Mm,
Spend everything.
yeah.
I don't need your money.
It's
And
for you. Yeah.
she left me very little. And I'm fine with that because look at those experiences that she got to relive through photographs, through talking about, telling her story. That was what meant more to me than the money.
Yeah.
I was like, she did it right. She did it right. She lived like a pauper for most of her life until she retired. And she's like, and game on.
I,
Let's do this. And
well,
she did it.
it sounds like she was an expander for you. Just
Hmm.
like how I said, you're this expander for me. You're like, oh, you can live like that. You can do whatever
Yeah.
you want to do. You can spend the money you've earned. Like,
Mhm.
so, and, I don't have that kind of expansion with my own mother, which I think is why I look up to other women like you to show me like, this is how it's possible to live,
Oh,
you
for
know?
sure.
And Cassandra, I just really appreciate the time because I know that you have boundaries around your time and energy. So
You
the
can have any of
fact
my time, Olivia, always.
so the fact that you gave us this hour means so much, and I know that our audience is going to take so much from this. So thank you for taking the time with me today. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
And we'll put all of your contact info, if people want to follow you or whatever, we'll put all of that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to continue to be expanded by how you live your life, they can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, before we go, I want to remind you that training your mental and physical health is incredibly important, especially for those working in high stress jobs like first responders.
And if you're interested in learning more about yoga for first responders, visit yogaforfirstresponders.org for our on-demand training app, online course platform, in-person training, and more.
Like this podcast, subscribe, and give us a great review. We are so happy to have you part of the YFFR mission.